Hello pilots, and welcome back to Flying with OverKill F-18C Hornet. This will be course 2 for the AGM-88D Harpoon anti-ship cruise missile. And today what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the different status messages that you may come across when attempting to use the Harpoon missile. Alright, so without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and straighten her out here and start talking about a few. Let's go ahead and lock the autopilot in there. There we go. Alright, so first thing to be aware of is the in zone. In zone is the bearing only launch mode's indication that the missile is clear to fire. Okay, all parameters have been met. There are no errors or no issues that currently would impede the missile's ability to hit or track a target. Okay, now let's go ahead and go into a shift pause for a second before we reach it. We're going to come here to waypoint 1. Let's put it in the box. Alright, 194 miles out. Let's go ahead and designate this as our target. And let's come here and switch our modes. Invalid target is what this indicates. This means that the distance from the aircraft to the designated waypoint or designated target location is greater than 172 nautical miles. So anything outside of 172 miles, you will get an invalid target. Okay. Let's go ahead and keep on going here. Give me just a moment, and I'm going to change the scenario up a little bit. Okay, so the next issue here is the altitude warning. You can see that we are currently in the HP Harpoon bearing only launch mode, and we get this alt here and here. This means that we are below the required 2,500 feet necessary to drop the missile. You must be above 2,500 feet before you release the missile. However, I don't know if this is a bug or if this is by design. In bearing only launch mode currently, we can still go to the F2 view and pop the missile out. Okay, I have been able, while moving, I've been able to successfully launch the missile all the way down to 200 feet. Although experiences may vary as you guys go to test this, so don't rely on that information as foolproof. Like I said, this could be a bug, it could be a programming error, or I might just be getting darn lucky. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, let's go ahead and test something for a second. We're going to do a weapon designate here and see if we have any issues dropping the missile on a designated target. So once again, bruiser, and again the missile has no issues firing at that altitude. So and like I said, I've gotten all the way down to 200 feet, so use that as you will, but the altitude warning indicates that you are below 2,500, and to clear it you must simply climb above it. So as soon as we get to 2,500, you go back to in zone and the missile is clear for launch. Alright, let's keep moving forward. Alright, so the next of the scenarios that you may encounter is when designating a waypoint. So we have a target designated here. We switch our mode to range and bearing. You get this TTMR. Okay, and we can display it up there. If I put it in air to ground mode, that helps. TTMR, or time to maximum range 99. This indicates that the time to maximum range to fire the missile is above 99 seconds. Once the time to maximum range drops below 99 seconds, the counter will begin counting down. And then you can release the missile once that time to maximum range expires, and you will see this change from TTMR to in range. Okay? So, moving on to the next one. Alright guys, and for one of the final scenarios that you may run into is called an off-axis. And so if we just go into our, and this can happen in either mode, but if we go into a search, and let's go ahead and set it for 25, set our destruction for 50, but let's set our bearing to like 060 here. Okay, this is coming directly from the aircraft. We haven't made a harpoon turn point. Alright, so you see you get these hashed lines. We still have the destruct point, we still have the search range point, but now the course line is hashed. What that indicates is off axis. And you'll see off axis here and off axis here. And what that means is that the turn angle for the missile is now above 90 degrees. So it's going to have to make a 90 degree or more turn in order to fly the directed route. Now, the missile will still fire. You can still release it in pretty much any of these warnings. Don't think I've seen one where the missile won't release. The missile will still let go. But what you have to start considering is, will it have enough energy to reach your target? Okay, that's the bottom line. Okay, will it be able to make it to the target based on the current parameters that you've set? And that's all the aircraft's trying to do, is warn you. I mean, we saw in the last video that I did that the Harpoon made a 270-degree turn to the target. So I mean, it'll turn like crazy. I mean, we could absolutely let it go right now, and you can get this no matter what you're doing here. So even if we set the Harpoon turn point and the same thing. Okay, now this one we're too close to it, so let's go with like Waypoint 3. Let's cycle that. Okay. And then let's change our bearing information now, because now it's okay. That's below 90 degrees. So let's go to like, let's change it to 090. That should work. Nope, even that's still good. So yeah, it looks like anything beyond the turn point, you're fine. Try 120. Let's go crazy with it. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure why it doesn't care about that, but it's only referring to the bearing off the aircraft is when you'll get an off-axis warning. But again, keep that one in mind. That's going to be darn near a 180-degree turn once the missile reaches waypoint 2. So keep all that stuff in mind when figuring out how to execute against your targets. All right, guys. I'll set up for the next one. Alright, so the next issue you may run into can happen on two different occasions. So, first thing we're going to do is simply set our Harpoon up. That'd be helpful. Alright, and let's set a turn point. So let's use waypoint 1 and go. What's our distance to the waypoint? 5.3. Okay, so if we take our search, set that to 0, we get a TGT target Harpoon turn point warning. And what this indicates is that the Harpoon turn point is too close to the target or the bearing only search area. So because we have set it to 0 miles, I can even go to 1. Okay. The turn point is too close to the search area. Okay, so that is what that error will indicate. Or if the waypoint is too close to the aircraft, you will run into the same thing. Alright, so let's move on here. I think we just about got them all here. Okay, next one. Let's do, if we come here to our search and we go to our destruct and we set this to 180. Oh, let's change my search real quick. Oh, that's too far out. Sorry. Let's do 115. Okay, destruct range. This indicates that the destruct range is greater than the maximum range of the missile. The other thing that you may run into is if we set the destruct range to 25, for example, you'll get search and destruct as the error that pops up, and this means that the search range and destruct range are too close together. Okay, you have one at 20, one at 25 nautical miles here. You need to spread them out. So if we were to make this, for example, 35, we're back to in zone. We're good. It's a very small traffic zone, but that's very helpful in areas where you have friendlies around the area. Alright, the only other thing that I can think of that you may run into is just doing a quick recap of the basics. You have in zone indicating that in a bearing only launch scenario the missile is clear to fire. In range, when using the range and bearing launch mode, same thing, means the missile is clear to fire. TTMR, time to maximum range. Out of zone would indicate that there's an issue that the missile is unable to execute the parameters that have been given to it. Okay, last thing that we want to talk about actually is this waypoint 1 again. It is our turn point. Let me make sure of that. And I'm just going to come out of an active pause. And that was the last one right there. Aircraft Harpoon turn point. This indicates that we, the aircraft, are too close to the Harpoon turn point. All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed these last two tutorials on the AGM-88D. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them in the description below. Make sure to give me that like and subscribe. I really appreciate the help, guys. And continue watching. I'll continue recording. Stay safe. See you guys in the next one.